Hey everybody, I am coming making this video message and I want to tell you about how critical it is to look inside of yourself. So many people go through life and they are not examining themselves. They don't look inside of themselves to see just how much toxicity is inside of them. People don't look at the unhealed areas of their life, the trauma, the fear, the hopelessness, how sometimes we can be really immature when it comes to solving certain matters. People don't look inside of themselves at things that make them afraid, things that make them stay stuck in the same position. People don't look at their lack of a pure one-on-one relationship with the Lord. A lot of people, they don't do this. Sometimes we will just navigate through life, and as things come at us, as things kick off, as we experience various things, we deal with it in our own way. Some people, the way that they deal with things, um, to cope, they go to certain things that are comforting for them. So you'll have people that they are accustomed to being in relationships. They're accustomed to dating. And when that ends and they fall out with the person who they were in a relationship with or the person that they were dating, they hop and go into another relationship with somebody else. They don't stop and say, you know what? Something is going on here to the point that every time I get a relationship, it does not work out. It ends. And even if they were not the one who necessarily was the problem in that relationship, they still don't look inside of themselves and admit and realize that they are still wounded and hurt from the fact that somebody broke their heart. And so you'll have people who have ran through relationships, and each relationship that broke them down, that broke their heart, or that changed them in a worse way, they will not acknowledge it. They will just continue to date people and become exclusive with people. On the other end, there are some people, they don't examine themselves and look inside of themselves as far as the role that they played in the breakdown of maybe their family. Maybe they have a bad relationship with their mother, with their father, with their siblings, and just different people in the family. But at some point, all of us have to look at ourselves and say, what role do I play in the breakdown of my family dynamic? What could I do better that would make certain people in my family either get along with me better, or they would maybe respect me more, or they would hear me out when I'm trying to tell them about the Lord? What could I do differently that would bring my family closer? This is what I mean when I say we have to all examine ourselves, because trust and believe that we all, and I'm talking about myself as well, we play a role in some things that kick off in our lives. We play a role. And if we never ever look at ourselves, we will spend a lot of time pointing to everybody else and talking about what everybody else is doing, instead of saying, you know what, I could be the problem. Let me start to look at myself. Let me start to look at certain things that I can change about myself, because once I change these things, it'll make the people around me change and it'll make them do something different. I was reading earlier today in Second Corinthians, um, chapter 13, I believe it is, and it's verse 5. And it was just talking about examining ourselves. And I'm just paraphrasing really quick, but it was just talking about examining ourselves and us checking to see if the Lord is within us. And so, one thing you will definitely know as far as if the Lord is in you is when you get to a level, you examine yourself. When you can sit, no matter how ugly it is, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how it makes you feel or how it makes you look, when you can sit and examine yourself and you can see all the wrong in you and you can see all the dirty things within you, when you can see all the lies, or if there's deception in you, or if there has been deception in you with how you deal with other people, when you can look inside of you and see if there are toxic areas of you, when you can look inside of yourself and you see that you are stubborn, you are hard headed, you are kind of arrogant, you are prideful, you are not humble, you do not see anything wrong with yourself. The Bible talks about us not deceiving our own selves. And so this is something that is not really addressed in the body of Christ. But a lot of people, they walk around and they're deceived. And they're deceived in the sense they feel like they are perfect. Now, I'm not talking about those of us who are in the kingdom and people will accuse you of thinking you're better or accuse you of coming off like you're a picture of perfection because you are addressing sin. When you're addressing sin and when you are uncovering the enemy, people are always going to accuse you of being judgmental, prideful, uppity, and thinking that you're better. That's their insecurity. But I'm talking about how so many people, they never ever see anything wrong with themselves, and it's exhausting when you come across these types of people, because these types of people, when you even confront them about something that's wrong with them, or when you come at them and say, you know what, you are always doing this, and this is a part of you that I don't like, this is a part of you that I don't care for, they don't see that. They will immediately reject what you're telling them, and they will tell you that what you're telling them is wrong. They will tell you that what you're telling them is not correct about their self. They will tell you that. This is how you will know when you have come across an individual who is deceived and who is not examining themselves. But on today, I want to let you all know, if you are a representation of Jesus Christ, or you are claiming you are a Christian or a follower of Christ, whatever title you've put on, you being under the umbrella of the Lord, one thing you better do is examine yourself. You need to really be looking inside of yourself, and you really need to be picking out areas of yourself that needs to be healed and that needs to be addressed, that needs to be repaired, that needs to be restored. And I've said it so many times to you all in different messages, it is a scary place. It is a scary place to examine yourself. When you self examine, and when you look inside of yourself, it is a scary place. And at first, you will feel like you are losing. You will feel like a part of you is being taken away to actually examine yourself. But it's required of you as a son or daughter of the Lord. It is required of you to examine yourself. Because if you can put the time and energy into rebuking, calling out, and correcting other people, you need to first look at yourself. And when you first look at yourself and you say, you know what, these are areas that I do need to improve in. These are things that I need to change. These are things that I need God to heal me from. These are things that I need God to deliver me from. When you get to that point, you will then realize that it is beneficial to you. You will then realize that you are even more free once you learn to examine yourself. And see, once you examine yourself, when somebody else comes to you and they check you or correct you on the ugly part of you or your personality or how you interact with them and how you react to them and handle them, you won't get offended. You won't get offended. If you see certain people who are very, very mature in their walk with Christ, and they're mature in a sense where they are always self examining, these are the people who don't have a problem with you coming to them to confront them or to reveal to them something you see wrong with them, or something you see wrong with their character, or something you see wrong with how they respond to you. They don't get mad. But you'll come across people who don't self-examine. And when you approach them and when you confront them about certain things, they will block you on their phone. They will verbally assault you or attack you. They will bring up your past. They will disrespect you. They will end the friendship. They will end the relationship. They will not want you around because they're not at a level where they are ready to self examine. And so when you see that in people who are not ready to self examine, they are not willing to look at themselves, to see the wrong within them, and they actively work or pray to change it, that should be an indication and a sign to you that that is not somebody at this season and point in your life that you should want to be around or that you should be given access to you. See, the thing that all of us have to learn, and I'm telling you all this, I want to teach this to you. It is not really difficult to figure out who should and shouldn't be in your life. Sometimes we misjudge people based off the most petty things and based off things that are minuscule. They're not really big enough or serious enough for you to let somebody go. But when you come across anybody, family member, friend, somebody you're dating, somebody in the kingdom or not in the kingdom, somebody that is just having a difficult time to accept that there are things ugly about them and not developed within them emotionally and mentally and spiritually, or their character flaws. When they don't see that, when they're not willing to look inside of themselves and acknowledge those things, that should tell you, you know what? I'm not going to say this person is a bad person, but they are not good for me. They are not the friend for me. They are not the person I should be dating. They're not. They're just not a good fit for me. And maybe it'll come later down the line if I pray for them. But right now, where God has me going and what I'm doing in my life, they don't need to be connected to me. Because if they can point out easily what they see in me and what's wrong with me and tell me what I need to improve, but when I hold up the mirror to them and I'm telling them, look at this, I see this, this, and that about you, and they're not willing to do it, that should tell you where you stand with that person. In reality, a lot of people, they're simply not where you are. And when we have these conversations, some people get offended and say, well, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are where you feel like you're more advanced than the next person? But the fact of the matter is, some of you are really indeed more advanced than certain people. You know why? It's not because you are a perfect person. It's not because you don't make mistakes. It's not because you don't need deliverance and much prayer. But it's simply because you examine yourself. You are very well aware of what's going on with you. And sometimes outsiders looking in, they will assume that you don't know what's going on with you. But you cannot look at the outward appearance. The Bible talks about how man judges the outside, the outward appearance, but God judges and pondereth the heart. God is looking at our hearts. And you can be the most foul person that knows you need to grow. But let me tell you something. When you start self-examining, it's the most beautiful thing. When you self-examine, you become more humble. You become more calm. You become more patient. You become more compassionate. When you extend that compassion and patience and humility towards other people, you will not be quick to reject them and dismiss them. There have been some people that I've dismissed on my journey. And when I look back on it now, I'm not going to say I regret it, but I knew that these people were so high and mighty to the point they were not willing to self examine. They were not willing to take a trip inside of themselves and say, you know what, I do need to improve on my ways. I do need to improve on my way of thinking. I do need to improve on how I react to what people say to me and bring to me. I do need to look inside of myself and improve certain things about my personality, because my personality has been developed from trauma and from unforgiveness. And so when I let people go, it was because of that. But this is not to say that when you get to that point where you want to let people go that are not willing to self examine and they don't see anything wrong within themselves, but they see the wrong in everybody else, it doesn't mean that they won't get to that place. It's just that right now in this season, they're not there. And so what you have to do, you have to leave people where they are. Not because you don't care, but because they don't care. If they don't care to self-examine and look inside of themselves, or even be open and honest about the toxicity that's within them and the immature parts of them, why are you sticking around? Bottom line, straight to the point, cut dry, self-examine. Take a trip inside of yourself. Sit with yourself. Pay attention to how you think. I don't care how nasty and ugly the thoughts are. These are things that are all within your spirit. You need to look at that and say, why are these things coming to me? Why do I have these certain nasty, ungodly, toxic thoughts? What doors have I opened? If you respond to certain people a certain way, ask yourself, why are you responding that way? Are you quick to dismiss people? Not people that are abusive and they're intentionally trying to hurt you. But I'm saying people that you know they love you, you know that they're loved ones, you know that they're friends, but you're quick to dismiss them and wash your hands of them, not realizing that it actually is you with the problem. So that's the point that I wanted to get across to you all, is to self-examine. Take a trip inside of yourself. Look at all the things about yourself and how you may have been the culprit, and why a relationship ended, why a friendship ended, why a divorce happened, why certain people don't get along with you, why certain people don't like you, why you're not willing to try to understand other people. You just see one thing about them and then you feel like you have the license to come to an entire conclusion about that person. Examine yourself. Examine yourself, because naturally it should be something you want to do if the spirit of the living God is in you. It should naturally be something that you want to do. But if you are not willing to do that, if you get uncomfortable with self-examining and looking at yourself, I would almost be certain if I said, I don't think the Holy Spirit is within you. The Holy Spirit is not there, because you have a problem looking within yourself. If you know somebody else that's doing it, this message is for you all, but it's also for the people that you know. So I'm addressing both. Whether you are the person that needs to self-examine, or you know that you do self-examine, but there are people around you, but they're not self-examining. But they're always busy calling you out on your mess or your dirt that's within you. Self-examine, check yourself. See if you are in the faith. See if you really do believe in God. See if you do believe that the power of God can deliver you from the ugly things that are within you. Check yourself and see if there are things that you have not been healed and delivered from. Check yourself. Look at yourself. Before you are restored and rebuilt and redeemed, what God does with you, he starts to show you a lot about yourself, especially pride. I'm going to tell you, pride is the number one thing that Jesus Christ shows his sons and daughters and his leaders and his prophets and his prophetess and his apostles and his bishops and his oracles. He's going to show you who you are and what you need to improve. God is going to deal with you. And then when you know that you've taken a trip inside of yourself and you've healed yourself and dealt with yourself or areas of you, then you are now open to receive people who approach you and they are not in agreement with how you do things and things you believe in and how you react to certain things that are said to you. That's the video message. Well, guys, it's time for me to go because I have some other things to do. The Lord willing, I will be back with another video message. If any one of you have taken offense to anything I spoke about in this video message, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not concerned because I know you will forgive me in the morning.